The following is a sponsored program paid for by First Alliance Credit Union. Welcome to Good Money Moves, featuring Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union and Andy Brownell. Here's Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome to Good Money Moves. I'm Andy Brownell with Jenna Taubel with First Alliance Credit Union, the Director of Brand and Digital Member Experience. Hi, Jenna.
Hey, Andy.
Last week on the show, we talked about the 5 steps you can take to build your financial literacy skills. What's the topic for this week's Good Money Moves?
Yeah, well, today I'd like to talk about something that I don't think we've really ever covered before in this program, and that is something called an annual planning calendar.
No, we have not.
Yeah, it's something you can use to really help you prepare for the year ahead. So great time of year to be talking about this.
Okay, well, you're going to have your work cut out for you today because I hate calendars. So this should be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, start out with, I don't think I've ever heard of it, an annual financial planning calendar. What exactly is it?
Yeah, so normally this is a financial tool used in businesses, right? So a business will set up an annual financial planning calendar to mark dates of important financial events, like when certain business reports need to be done, when departments need to get in their budgets, scheduling things like audits or taxes, or specific large orders of supplies or materials, things like that will have significant financial impact on the business in some way, shape, or form. So all of this information helps the business prepare for times when they'll have to maybe save money and prepare for those and have those funds available. And also when they maybe need to have those certain reports turned in and figured out, and it can help the business just run more efficiently. Now, we're not talking about this from a business perspective, though. We're talking about this today from a personal note. So a personal annual financial planning calendar takes this same model as a business's calendar, but it applies it to your personal finances instead.
Okay, I can see this. And actually, I think I'm actually doing it and did not know I was doing it. How's that?
Probably.
I mean, taxes. I know every year I got to pay my property taxes. So I know that May payment and that October payment are big dates on the annual calendar, and I have to prepare for them. Well, what other things other than like property taxes could you put on this calendar?
Yeah, so there's a lot of information that you can incorporate into your financial planning calendar. You can put events on that calendar that you know you're likely going to spend quite a bit of money or money outside of what would be considered a quote unquote normal budget for the month. So, I mean, we just went through the holiday shopping season. That's a great one to put on there. Birthdays, if you tend to spend a lot of money on birthdays for your kids, for your spouse, for anyone in your family, mark those. Vacations you have planned, right? Those are big, costly events, right? So you want to make sure that you're planning ahead for those. But you can also put down when you'd like to meet certain financial goals. Like if you know that, that furnace of yours may not get you through next winter. And so you've got a goal in place to save up money for that. Well, you're going to want to make sure that you've got a new furnace before next winter. So you're going to want to put that on your calendar. And the purpose behind all of this is it really gives you a bird's eye view of the next year, and it helps you save money for those larger expenses and just be more prepared for them mentally before they happen. And however, it's not the only thing that you can put on this financial planning calendar, though. You can also put, reminders on it. For instance, let's say you want to make a reminder to go through some of your documents, your paper documents, and kind of sort through and get rid of any that you don't need to retain anymore, right? That could be something you put on there. Maybe you want once a month, you want to go through you want to look at a budget differently. You want to go through your documents. You can kind of lay that out ahead of time to kind of help keep you on track.
Yeah, no, I like the idea now that you describe it that way, especially the idea. I mean, just have a visual reminder.
Mm-hmm.
Because these things they sneak up on you.
Yeah, or it's really easy to overlook something that you had intended to do.
Yeah. And you can throw in there changing out the batteries for the smoke detectors. You could, whatever it may be. Oil changes on the vehicles.
Yeah,
Tire
exactly.
changes on the vehicles. Those are big nowadays.
They
Changing
are.
a battery can be a big financial uh, occasion. I just found that
Yeah,
out myself. So
absolutely.
no, I like that, especially. I could see you could play with the layout with how you lay it out and things too. So
Hmm.
I like this discussion. So um, I guess how would I go about creating this?
Yeah, so I mean, the process can really be as simple or as complex as you'd like it to be. Let's start with a simple annual financial plan first, though, right? Just take a blank sheet of paper or a blank Word document online, write down the 12 months, and next to it, under April, write down your tax filing deadline. This is an event that everyone has to prepare for. Same goes for those property tax payments. Even if you escrow your payments, you should still keep this in mind. And because more likely than not, you're going to owe more on top of it than what you escrowed, and you don't want that to come up as a surprise. So once you've kind of gone through and done some of these really basic ones, think about some of your next big expenses and what those are going to be for the year. Like we said earlier in the show, these could include things like Christmas, Valentine's Day, 4th of July, especially if you like to host big parties for any of these types of holidays. So you can also, again, list out the months where your friends and families have birthdays or anniversaries. Even write down when you might plan to take a vacation in the upcoming year, right? Do you like winter vacations or summer vacations? You're going to have to plan differently for those from a financial standpoint if you're just getting started now. And you can also look at the calendar to see what big expenses are coming up and how much time you'll have left to save for them for the year. Um, you're just going to be a lot less likely to be surprised by bigger financial events when they arrive when you start to write them out and plan ahead for them on a calendar like this, which is always nice to not be surprised by a financial event, especially expensive ones.
Right. So I'm just jotting these down on a piece of paper at this point, just to have the
Yeah.
dates, a list of dates or potential dates in mind to
Yeah,
create the visual calendar that I'm going to do at some point.
exactly.
And I imagine from what you're telling me, there's no right or wrong answer as to what I can and cannot include in this.
Correct. Yeah, it's the I mean there's some basic events that we talked about, right? Like taxes, make sure that's on there.
Right.
Certain you can even put certain bills that you want to make sure get paid on time, especially if they're irregular, right? This just helps keep you organized, helps keep you from missing something because life gets busy or something else has your attention.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I mean, insurance payments that
Mm-hmm.
might come up every 6 months.
Yep.
Oh, because, those are the ones that catch me by surprise every time. Oh, darn it. I've got auto insurance. Premiums are due. Vehicle license tabs.
Yes.
Re-registration of your vehicles. Those always catch
Mm-hmm.
you by surprise.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
absolutely.
mentally think of all these different things that could come up that will they'll bite you when you at least expect it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
That's a
Oh,
great one.
there's another $600 I didn't expect to come out of my check that month. Yeah. I mean, I can see that this should take some time and some thought. You should spend more than 5 minutes on it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
To
and
come
you
up with
can
this
add
list.
to it, right, throughout the year too, as you think of things, especially if this is your first year doing it, you're probably going to overlook some things that you thought, oh, that would have been helpful to have on the calendar. Well, put it on the calendar retroactively so that when you go to do it again for the
Sure.
following year, you don't forget that.
That's true. By creating it, you're creating a template for the next year.
Exactly.
Perfect. Okay. We're talking about creating a annual financial calendar, a personal one, and help you with your financial planning and meeting your financial goals. In other words, a good money move. And we'll continue after this quick break. Jenna Taubel with First Alliance Credit Union I'm Andy Brownell. It's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good Money Moves continues in moments with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union. This is News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM. We're talking good money moves with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back to Good Money Moves. The topic this week is creating a financial planning calendar for your household rather than your business, I guess.
Yeah.
And we kind of, before the break, dug deep into, spending time and finding all these, miscellaneous things that pop up every year that cost you money. And they shouldn't be surprises, but sometimes they are. And I guess that would be, the goal would be to make this thing as comprehensive as possible. Is there a strategy to help make it as comprehensive as possible?
Yeah. And I think kind of going back to what we were talking about before the break, it's really, start with the ones and then kind of continue to build into that. And we talked about making sure that your financial goals are set as part of this as well, so that you're on track to achieve those throughout the year. So, for example, right, we talked about needing to maybe replace a furnace before the next winter season, right? So let's say, again, your last inspection came back and I don't know, they don't make the parts for your furnace anymore because it's so old. So you don't want to wait until it breaks to replace it. You're like, well, let's plan ahead and just plan to replace it before it gets cold again, right? So you can write down that you'd like to get a new furnace for next winter. So let's maybe say that you want to list that goal as something in October, November, you want to have your furnace replaced. That way, that it'll get taken care of and that the expense is planned for. And then you can use that information essentially to kind of work backwards and set up an actual financial goal to achieve that. So it's really helping you plan ahead for meeting that goal of yours.
Once again, a visual reminder to take care of the task.
Yeah.
Fall's coming. So what does that process look like?
Yeah. So
once I know I have that goal set out there and it's on my calendar.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's where it maybe goes back to what we've talked about many times on this show, and that is using SMART goals to set a financial goal. So just to kind of recap for those who maybe haven't listened before or don't remember what a SMART goal means, SMART is an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So again, using that furnace example, if you want to buy a new furnace in November, you can use that information to determine when you'd like to have enough money saved up. So from there, you can price out how much you expect to need in order to purchase this furnace, a couple $1,000s.
At least.
And you can figure out how much you are able then to set aside each month leading up to November to meet that goal. So you can look through your budget and see maybe where you can get some of that money. Maybe you've already got some savings built up you can use for part of it. Maybe you need to cancel a Netflix subscription for a couple months to give yourself a little more boost towards it. Maybe, you got to just kind of figure out whether or not it's even possible to save up enough money for a new furnace in this time frame. Or are you going to maybe need some additional funding through a loan or maybe a credit card or financing in some way, shape, or form? Nothing wrong with doing that, but it's best to save up some money upfront so you don't have to finance the full thing. It's always very helpful not to have to take on more debt than you need to.
But
now,
that's part of the SMART plan too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Build that into it.
You do. Yeah. And knowing that you're going to have to finance part of it, you can then plan ahead. Okay, well, if I finance this, I'm going to owe so much money month to month, and can I afford that? right? So again, it's getting you to think a little bit farther ahead because you're planning this out, you're putting it on the calendar. So, of course, if you don't have, maybe even a financial goal as expensive as a new furnace, maybe you just want to buy a power washer, for instance. You can set that goal for July when you're planning on cleaning your deck for your 4th of July party that you're planning, right? I mean, this whole idea of using this calendar is just to really help you start to get ahead of these expenses and these things you want to buy and help you get more organized in order to do that. And that way you'll know too, if you save a little bit from each paycheck for a couple of months in advance, you can afford that power washer easier. Or maybe you know that maybe you get a tax refund every year and you can start to figure out how you're going to effectively use that money because you've now planned out, well, these are all the things I'm going to need money for. Maybe I should use my tax refund money to fund some of these things that are coming up instead of this other thing. It can help you start to prioritize a little bit better and use your finances that you have available to you to really, make an impact towards the things you want it to.
To really get into the weeds on this, I was thinking about this as you were describing the idea of, staying ahead of the game, basically.
Yeah.
You could even factor in that come the summer months when we're all busy, I'm not really watching Netflix. I'm not really sitting down in front of the TV like you do on a cold winter night and watch some, binge some show.
Right.
Maybe you put on the calendar, I suspend my streaming services starting in May or June and don't pick them up again until October.
Yeah.
And then
absolutely
have that reminder in there. And then, boy, add that up. That's probably pay for that power washer in a second.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great idea, Andy. Absolutely.
Sure. Making some good money moves, or at least we're talking about it. We'll be back with more. We're talking about creating this financial planning calendar, your personal calendar with Jenna Taubel with First Alliance Credit Union. This is Good Money Moves on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good Money Moves continues in moments with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM. We're talking Good Money Moves with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
It's Good Money Moves. Jenna Taubel with First Alliance Credit Union. I'm Andy Brownell. We're talking about annual financial planning calendars, how to do it, what should be on it. I guess, looking back as to our last discussion, it's neat how this all combines together. You have the planning part of it and the reminder, and then you put that together with the SMART goals. I can see where the two together could really help you as far as meeting your financial goals. Is there another level of complexity that we could talk about perhaps if we're dealing with annual financial planning calendars?
Yes. Yeah, there is. And you kind of alluded to it before the break, and that is really just adding in some of those repeating tasks or events that come up, right? So it's a great idea to include when you or your spouse get paid each month, right? So whether that's monthly, biweekly, weekly, note those on there, right? Because then you're going to also be able to anticipate those special months where you maybe get like that third paycheck that you weren't expecting just because of the weeks work out that way, or and it just really helps kind of keep tabs on those throughout the year so that when you're preparing for some of those smaller events, maybe like birthdays, you can really start to help yourself figure out where and what those funds need to be from each of those paychecks to cover some of these different situations. Maybe you just like to buy, people flowers on their birthdays if they're an acquaintance. Well, that's not really something you need to have a specific goal saved up for, but it is something you need to plan for in whatever paycheck that needs to come out of so that you're not overspending that week or that month. Another example I can think of is putting in just a monthly reminder to review your budget, your spending plan. And it really is a best practice with any budget or spending plan that you create to review it at least monthly. And when you add that reminder into your financial planning calendar, you're going to be reminded to do that regularly. You can't miss it. And you're just going to be more likely, again, to be planning ahead and looking a little bit further into the future than the immediate situation right now, which is what this is all about. So, you can also add in, regular reminders to check on the status of your financial goals, right? Or review your insurance policy before it comes due. Maybe it's time to shop for a new policy, maybe you've got a car you don't need to finance or cover anymore, or you need to make sure one gets added, or you need to change coverage. Great reminders to put on there. And any other necessary financial tasks that maybe aren't exciting to do, but still need doing, right? So those
Yes.
things that otherwise they just fall through the cracks. So, but really, like, no matter how complex you choose to make your annual financial planning calendar, just make sure it works for you, right? Make sure you have enough information on it so that it's helpful to you without feeling overwhelming. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, start with the big stuff, and like throughout, as you continue to use this to help yourself throughout the year, add things to it that are helpful to you, or you wish you would have remembered to put on there, or that you think would be helpful. So that way, when you do it again for the following year, you already kind of have some things on there to help build it, and just becomes that much easier to continue to kind of maintain that and use it going forward, because you're going to continue to tweak it based on your life and how it's changing year over year.
Yeah. And I was thinking, home maintenance things that need to be done every year during a certain time.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Change the filter on the furnace. Put a reminder on there. So, do you have one of these calendars, Jenna?
In my head.
Because I'm thinking I'm going to need a whole wall.
I know. Yeah. I feel like there's so much you could put on here, but I just think, like, how much less stressful life would be if you know what's coming up. Because you made a great example. Tabs get renewed every year. It comes up and sneaks up on me every year. I know it's going to happen. I know it. I know about how much it's going to be, but every year I get that, and I wait till the last minute to do it, because I'm like, I don't want to pay this. I know
you
I'm not
and
the
everybody
only one.
else.
Yeah. So those are
the electronic stuff we have going today. There's so many options. You could do this online, and if you have a smartwatch or smartphone, you could have the reminders just come up right on your electronic device.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't have to have like a physical calendar on your desk to keep track of all this. This is very much something you can incorporate into, a regular calendar that you're using to keep track of many other things in your life too. I color code my work calendar based on what's a reminder, what's a meeting, what's something I need to just block time to work on. You can do something similar with a financial planning calendar.
All right. Seeing it's a new year, you convinced me. I'm going to dive into this.
Awesome.
Okay. Great information. If I want to find out more about how to create a calendar, or, how to meet my financial goals, Jenna, point me in the right direction. Where can I go?
Yes. As always, I encourage our listeners to visit our website, firstalliancecu.com. You can subscribe to our blog. We release new financial tips and advice there every week. You can find out more information about preparing for the new year, like how to get financially fit, how to set money-based New Year's resolutions, and even more information about just goal setting in general. You can listen to past episodes of this show at firstalliancecu.com/podcast or on krocnews.com. You can also subscribe to Good Money Moves on Apple, Google, and Spotify podcasts. And if you love our show, please leave us a review on your favorite platform. We'd love to know what you think. If you do have a financial topic or a question that you would like covered on Good Money Moves, please send me an email at marketing@firstalliancecu.com. And of course, I strongly encourage you to reach out to our team at First Alliance Credit Union. They are here to help you start making good money moves today.
Fantastic. Of course, that's First Alliance Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA and an equal housing lender. Jenna, I've got to run. I've got a calendar to make.
Awesome.
We'll talk again next week with another Good Money Moves. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. This has been Good Money Moves on News Talk 1340, KROC AM, and 96.9 FM.